He paused for a moment, then stepped through into the room. And there he saw the number that had hung over their heads since they'd woken up. 9.
Huh. The 9 door.
Of course, we kind of knew that was going to be the case, right? Like the numbers on every other door, this one, too, was a rough shape made of red paint. Its door was set into the back wall of the room. Junpei leapt toward it with a sudden burst of hopeful energy. It was a large double door, heavy and full of solemn importance. He grabbed the door handle and shook.
Of course it wouldn't be that easy.
The red sat on the wall next to the door. Displayed on it...
Vacant. Huh. We finally found it.
Junpei felt himself overwhelmed by a torrent of emotion. At last, they'd found the exit, but cold gripped his heart, and he knew all too well why. As he stood, frozen, unsure of what to think or feel.
Junpei!
Huh?
Look! Behind you!
He spun around. He couldn't believe what he saw.
What? A 9 door. There's another one. Why?
Junpei's voice was barely audible, even to himself. He stumbled toward the second door, as if somehow compelled. It was a small, single door. It sat in the starboard corner of the room, on the same wall as the door they'd entered from, but in the opposite corner.
It's 9, no matter how you look at it. The red is there too. So this is a real one?
Junpei shook the door handle pointlessly and muttered to himself.
Why the hell are there 2 doors?
It was Santa who answered.
There were always 2 doors. I mean, if you think about it. Zero never actually said there was only 1 door with a 9 on it.
It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9.
God, it's been so long since I've seen this.
Of course, we just assumed that there was only 1. After all, why would there be more than 1?
Oh, man. We fell for it. There are 2 doors. That means that all 9 people who had met at the central staircase could escape. No one would be left behind. Now it makes sense why the bracelets are numbers, 1 through 9. Divided into teams of 4 and 5 people. The digital root of both teams ends up being 9. Take 1278 and 34569 for example. The digital root for both teams would be 9. Or 2349 and 15678. The digital root is still 9. There are a bunch of combinations that work and they all end up the same way. If one team has the digital root of 9, so would the other one. What does that mean? The answer's simple. From the very beginning, the Nonary Game was designed to save all 9 people. That's how it was meant to be. Zero didn't lie. He never said there'd be only 1 9 door. But anyone who'd found themselves in the game would have assumed that was the case. Fights would have broken out. One team would likely betray or deceive the other. Someone might be hurt. Someone might get killed. But eventually, they'd reach this very same room and realize how pointless all their infighting was. There were 2 doors. There was no need to kill each other.
This seems very, introspective. This feels like it might be leading to the proper ending. They'd understand and be appalled, overwhelmed with guilt at what they'd done.
This game was designed for that purpose. This Nonary Game. We were all arguing and fighting over doors at the beginning. But if there had been one slip up, one tiny mistake that led to more, everything could have been so much worse now.
The thought of it sent a chill down his spine.
So, what are we going to do, Junpei?
Voice broke through Junpei's frantic thoughts. Santa's voice.
Huh? Oh, right.
Hey, keep it together, man.
Sorry.
Jeez. So what do we do?
What do you...
We need to think about our next step.
Our numbers are 1, 3, 5, and 6. That's a digital root of 6.
The 4 of us can't open the number 9 door.
The 4? Wait, don't tell me.
Yep. There's one combination that'll let 3 of us open the 9 door. That's why I'm asking, what now?
What now?
Took him no time at all to determine the answer. There was only one combination of 3 people that would give a digital root of 9. 1 plus 3 plus 5 equals 9. That would mean...
No, we gotta go back.
That wasn't a possibility he was willing to consider. Santa and Ace agreed.
Yep.
I agree. We cannot leave June behind.
Junpei let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding.
Are you sure? I don't mind staying.
June's body betrayed her true feelings. Her eyes were met with the beginnings of tears, and her legs shook.
It's okay. There's no way we'd leave you behind.
Santa had said what Junpei had known the moment he realized which 3 people could go through the door.
Besides, I'd rather drown at the bottom of the ocean than escape with this sausage fest. Maybe I'll get to go to Atlanta.
Are you sure you don't mean Atlantis?
Huh? Oh, right.
I can't tell if Junpei's losing it or if he's actually laughing. Perhaps it was the sudden reassurance that no one wanted to leave June behind, but Junpei laughed harder than he had in some time. Santa and Ace smiled.
You guys.
June blinked tears from her eyes and bit her lip. She didn't seem to know what else to say.
Very well. Best we head back to C-Deck then. We should be able to take the elevator we passed earlier. Perhaps Clover, 7, and Lotus will have returned from door 1.
Even as Ace spoke, they knew finding the others wouldn't improve the situation.
But even with all 7 of us...
Ace knew it. They all knew it.
Standing around here isn't going to accomplish anything, don't you agree? Let's find the other 3 first, and then search for another solution.
I guess you're right.
All right, let's go.
Ace looked at all 3 of them, then turned and headed through the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Santa and June followed.
Huh.
Junpei started toward the door, then stopped.
Come to think of it, what is this room?
Didn't seem terribly important now, but what exactly was it?
We were so focused on the doors, we didn't even look around.
A red carpet ran between 2 columns of wooden benches that ran the length of the room.
Huh. It looks like it's set up for some kind of ceremony. But what kind?
Facing the 9 door was the carpet leading to the bow of the ship. And at the end... was it an altar, perhaps? There was a small rectangular alcove at the end of the carpet, and inside the alcove was a raised platform. Resting on top of the platform was a coffin. I didn't really notice the symbols before on the right and on the left. The one on the right I don't recognize. The one on the left was that Earth? Can't remember which planet that was. Or Mars? Or Venus? Jupiter? I'm just gonna name all the planets.
Huh. A coffin? What on earth is a coffin doing in a place like this?
But before Junpei had time to answer that question,
Hey, Junpei, the hell are you doing? Let's move.
Santa's voice echoed in from the hall outside.
Right, okay. I'll be right there.
Junpei turned on his heel and left the quiet, somber room. Damn knocking! They took the elevator up to C deck. Once there, they headed back toward the main hall and the central staircase. Didn't take them long.
Look, it's...
7 and Lotus.
They didn't look happy.
We've got a problem.
Clover is gone.
Did that happen last time?
What?
Junpei and his 3 companions looked at one another. He turned back to 7 and Lotus.
What do you mean, gone?
Santa, Ace, and June had their own questions to ask.
When?
Why?
You two went into door 1 with Clover, didn't you?
7 and Lotus responded as best they could. Now, it was like the captain's quarters, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, we went through the door together.
But Clover barely spoke to us.
She just did her own thing the whole time.
Huh.
There were 4 rooms on the other side of door 1.
She wouldn't let us into the 4th room.
She just said, I'll take care of this one.
And shut the door.
She must have blocked it with something on the other side.
We waited for a while, but Clover didn't come out.
We called for her, but she didn't answer.
So I kicked down the door and we went into the room.
But
It was empty.
Clover wasn't there.
There was a door on the other wall.
And it was open.
We figure she opened the door and left by herself.
We ran after her, of course, but
Well, obviously we didn't find her. You figured that much out.
Clover's gone.
Junpei thought for a moment.
When did this happen?
We got here just before you.
You certainly have excellent timing.
So you haven't searched anywhere other than near the staircase?
No, we haven't.
Finally, Ace spoke. His voice had an edge of resolve and concern.
Very well then. We'd best separate and look for Clover. We haven't much time left. Let's begin.
Yeah.
There were quick nods all around, and the 6 remaining players spread out. Junpei and June ran to the large hospital room together. As quickly as they could, they searched around and under the beds and in the corners.
She's not here.
No, she isn't.
All right, just in case, we should go take a look in the shower room.
Shower room?
That's where her brother is. She might have gone to see him.
June bit her lip. She knew, as Junpei did, that there was only one thing to see in the shower room, and it wasn't pleasant.
Well, we might as well check, right? Let's go.
There was a screwdriver stuck between the doors and the frame.
Good. We can still get in.
We should thank 7 later.
Junpei and June slipped through the door, moved down the hallway, and stepped into the shower room.
No luck.
Yeah,
No.
I don't think she's here.
June's voice was faint, and she placed her hands over her mouth. Her face looked a little green.
The smell is horrible.
The stench in the room was almost unbearable. It had grown far more unpleasant since their last visit. If Junpei had eaten a lunch, he would have had difficulty retaining it. He wanted to leave the room as soon as possible, but he had to be sure. And the only way to be sure was to check the other side of the divider.
Let's check the back, just to be sure.
June offered no resistance and nodded weakly to Junpei as he headed around the divider. This would have been the path where she told us about the arm, right? He stopped at the corner and turned his head.
No, she's not here.
As he'd expected, Clover was nowhere to be seen. The only thing on the other side of the divider was a dead body, lying in a reddish-brown puddle of dry and drying blood.
Snake. Just where did your sister go?
Junpei whispered to what once was Snake. He'd asked rhetorically, of course, as there was no way he'd get an answer. He gave a deep sigh.
Such a horrible way to go. The skull shattered, the left arm's hideously twisted. Huh? Wait.
Nice! The bright white of the ulna was clearly visible through the remains of skin and muscle. Bright white. Ulna.
Bones.
The pieces fell into place. Junpei remembered something Clover had told him in the laboratory.
My brother's left arm is, it's not like a normal person's arm. The accident hurt him really bad.
Of course. Of course. Why didn't I realize it earlier?
Clover had told Junpei that Snake's left arm was prosthetic. But the left arm of the corpse behind the divider was quite clearly a real human arm. Or at least, it had been once. That meant the corpse.
Junpei?
June's unsure voice at Junpei's suddenly strange behavior drew his attention back to her.
Oh, sorry for making you wait. Let's go.
Junpei and June headed back toward the large hospital room. They stepped through the door and out of the shower room. Down the hallway they went, searching for Clover in every corner. They had reached the stairs when Seven appeared, breathless and yelling.
Junpei! June! Where were you guys?
He looked pale and his face was drawn. Something terrible had happened. Junpei's breath caught in his throat.
Did something happen?
Seven drew a shaking hand across his face and gulped down a breath of air.
Clover is dead.
What?
I found her in the first-class bathroom.
What? All sounds ceased for Junpei. The world was an empty, muffled expanse. Then he began to hear his own breathing. June's mouth moved, but he heard nothing. What? She tried once more, and then her energy was gone, and she collapsed against the wall. He could have helped her, but he hadn't, and now she was dead. So he stood there, frozen in place.
Clover. Clover. Why? Why did this happen?
He forced his body to move. Each step felt like another nail pounded into his heart. Finally, he was in front of her. He knelt and placed 3 fingers against Clover's neck. No pulse. No breath. But she was still warm and her eyes were closed peacefully. It would have been easy to think she was asleep. Easy, that is, were it not for the slowly expanding puddle of blood beneath her. He traced its source to her back. A gash just beneath her shoulder blade. Was the weapon a knife, perhaps? If it was a knife, the killer had taken it when they left. When he closed his eyes, he saw Clover's smile.
Clover!
Her innocent smile. Her energy. He would never see her smile again.
No way.
He could have done something. He could have helped her. His stomach twisted itself into a sickening knot.
Let's get out of here, June.
Junpei lifted a limp June from the floor and carried her from the bathroom.
Are you all right?
It was a foolish question, and he knew it.
Yes, I think so.
Wow. Just trying to think of what could have happened. This is the same area where the safe was. Her voice was weak. The fever had gone down, but the emotional scars she'd received were not likely to recede as quickly. Junpei laid his hand on her shoulder, and they walked back to the bedroom.
You should get some rest. Here, the bed. Can you sit?
Yes.
She nodded once and stared at the floor. There were 4 others in the room. Ace, Lotus, Santa, and Seven. They all stared at nothing, their faces drawn and tired. After a while, they drifted into the bathroom to see Clover's corpse themselves. Once everyone was back in the bedroom, Junpei walked slowly to the center of it and looked around as the slumped figures gathered there.
Who was the first to find the body?
Me.
Seven spoke from behind Junpei. He turned around. Seven's hand was up.
Why did you come to this room?
To look for Clover. Why else? I found her body in the bathroom. As soon as I did, I ran outside.
He put in, like, he made sure that you could go back this way, right? So you put stuff in the doors to make sure we could come back. There was only us, Snake, and Seven that knew that about this room, I believe.
I got to the top of the stairs by the casino and yelled as loud as I could. Hey, guys, I found her, but it's bad. She's in the bathroom in the first-class cabin. Come quick! Or something like that. Then I went back to the bathroom. Ace, Santa, and Lotus showed up real soon after that. But I guess you two hadn't heard me or something because you didn't show. So I took off down the stairs to look for you. After that, I mean, you know the rest, right?
Junpei nodded and closed his eyes. There was one more thing he needed to ask.
Seven, there's one more thing I'm worried about.
What?
You stuck one of those plates in between the door and the frame, right? Why did you do that?
Come on, didn't I already tell you that? I did it so that the door wouldn't lock. So we could come back to this room? Oh, you think I did it?
Well, I don't know. That kind of depends on what you say, doesn't it?
For crying out loud.
Seven sighed and shook his head.
Follow me.
Wow. There were 2 doors standing next to one another. He opened the one on the right.
A closet?
Safe.
Yeah.
Seven stepped inside. He stood in front of one of the shelves that filled it and gestured toward a small box. The box was a small metal cube. He looked at Junpei.
This is the reason. This safe.
I'm wondering if this is going to come back into play.
We couldn't open it when we were getting through this room. I figured there might be something pretty important in it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I figured eventually we might figure out what the numbers are for the safe. And if we did, I didn't want to screw around with door 5 again. So I put the plate in the exit door so we could get back in that way. You get it now?
Yeah.
Junpei nodded and looked at the safe. He grabbed the handle and shook it.
Figured it wouldn't open.
It was as locked as it had been when Seven found it.
Huh?
There was one change, however.
This is...
Just underneath the safe was a pile of fine reddish-brown powder.
Rust.
Junpei stared at it, considering.
If there's rust here, that means... Has someone opened the safe?
Junpei left the closet. Seven followed him back to the bedroom. There's a knife in the safe, maybe?
Huh?
It was cold and quiet. Oh my god, what the hell? No one spoke. They sat frozen in place by shock, grief, and fatigue. The room felt tiny and oppressive, and the thick, metallic smell of blood filled the room. Junpei turned and headed for the living room. Anything to get out of there.
Maybe there's another clue. Anything that might lead us to discover who stabbed Clover.
As quickly as they could, they searched around and under the beds and in the corners. His eyes caught on the door. The door that led to the passageway of door number 5.
Behind this door. The ninth man's body is behind there. Maybe I should have another look at it, just in case.
Is that what the body of Snake was? Is it the ninth man? Quietly, he pushed open the door.
Ugh.
The smell hit him like a blow to the face.
Oh, the hell? This smell is...
His lungs contracted, unwilling to inhale such fetid air. Fetid air. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Acid boiled up from the base of his stomach, churning what little food was there into a violent froth. Nasty. It was too much for him, and he vomited. A thin stream of yellow water and bile spattered onto the floor. He wiped his mouth weakly and stared at the dead body. Chunks of torn flesh lay in an arc around the body. What remained of his intestines had slid out onto the floor. Okay, well, I guess there goes that theory. The pool of blood that framed it was half dry, but so thick that it had taken on a texture not unlike that of an egg yolk, prepared sunny side up. On the floor next to the broken mass of the man's head lay his glasses, cracks spidering across the lenses. I wonder if his wristband is there, though. The bloodstains near them had already dried like scabs on the floor.
Wait.
That was when he noticed.
It's gone. His bracelet. It's gone. It was right next to the glasses.
So, here's the thing. If you take the 9 bracelet and remember that there was a 0 bracelet that the alleged 0 left behind, you could use those 2 bracelets to possibly get one person through a door, right? 90 and some other number. That's 3 bracelets, so it's like 3 people. That's something to consider. But now, it was gone. The number 9 bracelet was gone.
But why?
Had someone taken it? He was turning it over and over in his mind when he heard Seven's voice.
Huh? Where'd Junpei go?
So let's say 7 use it. So he has 9 plus 7, that's 16. That gives 7, right? The 0 doesn't add anything. So basically, if you add 9 to anything, any one number, it doesn't change. Basically gives you the digital root of that bracelet. It had drifted out to him from the living room. Junpei walked slowly out of the hallway. It could also be another way to get 2 people out.
Oh, there you are. Were you looking for something in the hallway?
7 looked up as Junpei entered the room.
Yeah.
Did you find something?
He thought for a moment before he responded.
No, nothing.
Technically, it wasn't a lie. He hadn't found anything, in a way. In fact, that was the problem. Something he'd expected to find hadn't been there. The 9th man's bracelet.
What's up?
Well, I wanted you to take a look at something.
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up this episode here. This is really exciting. I feel like we're getting close to another ending. And I feel like we made some important connections that we had to go down specific paths to get to. So this is feeling big. Just trying to think of, like, Snake and 7 could get out of a 9 door if they had those 2 bracelets. If it was Clover, she was 4, right? Be Clover and us. They could get out. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I have a feeling the next one's going to be the ending, so I'm looking forward to that. This is Luckless Lovelocks signing off for now, and I love you all.